Episodes 5 and 6 aired last night. The Last Dance, ESPN's documentary on the Chicago Bulls. Jason Hehir has done a great job as the director. 7 and 8 will air next Sunday, May 10th, starting at 9 Eastern. Jason, let me start with the music, the choice of music that you have in trying to match the period there. Give me the detail that went into that.
It's the most important aspect of it to me. Anytime we do a project, the first thing I start with is the music. And, I walk around my neighborhood in New York and listen to songs that we may use, that we may not use, but something that gets me in the mood of what that music or what the doc is going to sound like, how the story is going to feel. And the texture of the entire documentary is the music. This was a really great opportunity because this doc is based in 80s and 90s nostalgia. And my greatest musical love is old school hip hop. So I could not wait to sink my teeth into matching up songs to each era that we're covering in each episode. So it was a field day. We had an incredible team of music clearance people. Old school hip hop is the hardest thing to clear because there's so many samples and so many of them went unchecked back in the day. Like no one was keeping track of those before sampling laws came into effect. But Rudy Chung and the guys that hit the ground running did an incredible job with this. So I was lucky to have them.
What kind of music fan is Jordan or was Jordan back then?
I think he's more R&B. I don't think that he's the kind of guy who would listen to I'm Bad, LL Cool J before a game. He famously said that he listens to Giving You the Best That I've Got, Anita Baker before games. And it just wouldn't. It's just another incredible thing about him, big or small, but it wouldn't have fit the tone that I was trying to match in the doc. So we decided to go with our own taste rather than Michael's.
When you have the Barack Obama comment, you have the political topic where, Mike says, Republicans buy Nikes as well. Then you have President Obama, his comment on being disappointed in Mike. Did Jordan know what Obama was going to say in the documentary?
He didn't know what President Obama was going to say, but he saw that episode. I mean, I was surprised. This goes back to, people saying that Michael has creative control or he could have taken out anything that we did. He had the power to do so, and he never wielded that power. That soundbite that's in there where the guy compares him to Muhammad Ali and says Michael will never be like Ali. Not only did Michael want to keep that in, he wanted to answer to that because he saw a rough cut of episode 5 before we did that interview when he's in the black shirt. The black shirt interview is from December of last year. So that's why you see him speaking on that in the blue shirt, which was 2 years ago. And then he saw the cut and said, I leave it in and I want to speak to that as well, the Ali stuff. So it was interactive with him throughout.
He doesn't apologize for anything.
No, he doesn't. And I was talking with my girlfriend last night watching this. It's a refreshing. I think it's part of the refreshing part of this doc is that no one seems to. Horace Grant says, no, I was not the guy who leaked that stuff to Sam Smith. Isaiah says that's the way that people did it back then. They walked off. Michael says, if you want someone to stand behind a podium and further your agenda, you're probably following the wrong guy. Follow somebody else. I love the fact that these guys stand by what they did decades ago. And they're not being indignant. They just believe in what they say.
Jordan didn't take out anything?
I'm sorry?
Jordan didn't take out anything?
Oh, he did not. No. And when you see the episodes next week, you'll be surprised. Maybe he skipped episode 7. I'm not sure, but I can't believe that he didn't.
Wait, well, what did he? You have the Steve Kerr fight, but what is tasty that he should have maybe had edited?
Well, the Steve Kerr fight is only a story that's told, and he was eager to tell that, and Steve was too. But the footage, this treasure trove of footage that we have from the NBA, what we tackle in episodes 7 and 8 next week is what it was like to play with Michael, and then what it was like to play against him in 7 and 8 respectively. And the with Michael stuff, man, I don't know if you would want to practice with Michael Jordan. It'd be fun to watch. I don't know if it'd be fun to interact with him during that because he is hard. He wanted to make those practices harder than any game could possibly be. And in the East back in the 90s, that meant making it as rough and as mentally grueling as possible. And there's things in there. There's language in there that I'm shocked that ESPN let us keep in, and there's behavior in there that I'm shocked that Michael let us keep in. But we were lucky enough that we had great partners in both.
I remember when I would be at the NBA Finals and have a chance to talk to Judd Bushler or Steve Kerr, and they would always talk about how intense. They always said, you're seeing it from the outside. We see it from the inside. It's not as enjoyable on the inside. On the outside, it looks like you're playing with Jordan and we're winning championships. It was really tough. And if you got the look, they always talked about you never wanted the look from Jordan. Because if you got the look, you weren't getting the ball. Like that intensity that they had every single practice, that it goes back to when Mike decided to take a couple of years off. I think Mike got so into this and had to be so much to so many things and so many people. I don't know if he could have continued to do what he was doing. And I think he actually needed a break. We see coaches do this. You have burnout. I think Mike had burnout. After watching all of this, Jace, I think he had burnout. Did he address that?
He did, and we address it more because he leaves for baseball, and you'll see all his baseball experience is covered in episode 7, and episode 8 is his comeback from baseball. It absolutely was burnout, and he wanted to do this as recently as 92 from 93, but as far back, if you look at, there's a Roy Firestone interview from 1984 on Up Close on ESPN, and Michael says to Firestone when he's about to leave UNC for the draft, he says that he's going to leave pro basketball at 30 and become a golfer. He always had this in his mind that he was going to do this, dominate for a while, and then leave and go do something else. It's just how his mind works. I'm sure he's sitting at home in quarantine right now wondering what else he can beat once this thing gets lifted and he can go out and interact with the rest of the world. So he was absolutely burnt out. And then it was greatly compounded by the death of his dad. He was grieving and he needed a reset. Yeah. So we addressed some of the reasons that people say he left this suspension conspiracy theory. We addressed all of that with David Stern, with Michael and others. But the guy was burnt out. He was done. He was done physically. He was done mentally. He was done spiritually, and he needed to go somewhere else.
He's Jason Hehir. He's the director of ESPN's The Last Dance. You got episodes 5 and 6 that aired last night. 7 and 8 will air next Sunday, May 10th, starting at 9 Eastern. What was the toughest question you asked him throughout all of this?
It was hard to discuss his dad because, one of our goals in this thing was to present these guys as human beings, not as icons, not as statues, but as human beings. And when you're talking to someone about losing their parent, no matter what the circumstances, it's a tough thing to bring up. And when you're talking to someone about their father being murdered, it's extremely tough to bring up. And then you have to ask the question of how do you respond to these rumors that you were somehow responsible for his death? It's just kind of it's a stew of difficult topics to bring up all in one subject and all in one time period. So I gave him a heads up before the interview that this is going to be one of the ones where we go deep on that kind of stuff and just prepare for that. And I told him from the outset that there's going to be difficult questions that I ask you. You can choose to answer them however you please. I have to ask them. And he respected that.
Did you ever get the look from him? Like he was disappointed in you? Or mad?
I don't think so. I mean, I got the look like that's a dumb question, or I got the look like he's I don't know if you can say this on your air, but he's a ball buster, definitely. And part of that is fun. You know that. You've dealt with him a lot more than I have. The final interview that we did, we finished the interview and I said, is there anything else that you want to add to this? And he made some sort of joke like, no, I think we have it covered in 8 hours of talking. And then I said, all right, 10 seconds of room tone. And we have to do that for editing purposes. So everyone in the room has to be quiet and we just have to record the sound of the room quietly for 10 seconds. I said, all right, 10 seconds, go. And I have to count to 10 in my head and then I call it and the interview is wrapped. So I called, all right, room tone, 10 seconds. I was quiet, counted to 10 and said, all right, thanks, we're done. He said, that was 13.
Who said no to an interview?
There were some, my standard answer so far has been that we got every person we wanted to tell a story from. All the stories we wanted to tell, we got the right person to tell the story. There were people who said, no, I'd rather not share that.
Who was reluctant?
Stockton was reluctant because, I finally got him on the phone. We interviewed John Stockton on March 10th.
This March 10th.
Yeah. So that was Tuesday, March 10th. We interviewed him in Spokane. It was so deep into this COVID crisis that we decided I shouldn't fly to Spokane because we were afraid that flights would get grounded indefinitely. So we had someone out there, a stringer from Seattle, drove in and did that interview. He was reluctant because I finally got him on the phone after like 2 years of chasing him in January or February. And he said, I don't want to be part of a Michael Jordan puff piece. And I said, I can assure you that this is not a puff piece. And I explained to him who else was participating and that he was the 106th interview in the process and what we were covering. And then guys like BJ Armstrong were reluctant out of deference to Michael because they're protecting Michael and they wanted to know, who these people are who are telling this story. Is Michael cool with it? There were plenty of people who, it's not easy to get people to sit down and talk about Michael because he casts such a large shadow over people's lives still. So they want to know all sorts of details about, all right, who is this telling the story? What have they done before? What kind of story is this going to be? So we had a lot of reluctance, but very few. I mean, we had 106 interviews and we cast a really wide net and maybe 2 or 3 people said they'd rather not be a part of it.
But the fact that Stockton says, I don't want to be part of a puff piece, how did you react to that?
I loved it. I've never heard John Stockton's voice. I've never heard it. He's so reticent. I mean, he could have sounded like Scottie Pippen. He could have sounded like my mom. Like I had no idea what he was going to sound like. But I respected him more for saying, no, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that I don't feel like gushing about Michael Jordan for a half hour and you guys putting it. It still stings, those losses.
Oh, Reggie Miller was on a couple of weeks ago, Jace. I mean,
Reggie's another guy. Reggie's another guy, man. And we tried and we were getting official no's from Reggie. And Gail DeGasino, who's his manager, I had to reach out to her personally and assure her like we were doing this the right way. We were getting no's from him. And then I was listening to him call games and he was saying, I haven't gotten a call yet. I'm hoping to be a part of this thing. And I was like, Reggie, we're dying for you to be a part of this. But it still stings with these guys. Larry Bird is legendarily, Larry Legend, no pun intended, legendarily reluctant to speak about anything. He just doesn't like doing these interviews. But it's like I said before that when Michael calls, people pick up in the first ring. So Magic said, I don't know if this happened, but Magic told me that when he did it, he called Larry and said, you have to do it because I did it. It's this incredible, Mount Rushmore of guys who have this kind of pact that they all are going to tell each other stories. It's really cool to observe.
What was your reaction when the, Ken Burns, who does documentaries for a living, said that this really wasn't a documentary, The Last Dance? How'd you react to that?
Ken Burns is one of my idols. He's got an extraordinary body of work, and he's one of the reasons why I wanted to do what I do now. So I was a little disappointed that he hadn't seen it yet, and he seemed to be casting judgment. But he called me the other day and couldn't have been more gracious and couldn't have been more classy and said that he apologized, not for what he said, but for the fact that it was taken out of context and that he deals in a PBS world where anyone who has a remote connection to the subject is automatically forbidden to be a part of the process. And so for Michael to be a partner in this and for him to be watching Rough Cuts, he said that that's just something that would not happen in my world. So it was really, it was incredible to actually get a phone call from that guy because I've looked up to him forever. Also, I would say that I'm not, what we do is journalistic, but I wouldn't call myself a journalist. I am in the business of storytelling, and we use a visual medium to tell these stories. And when someone like Michael Jordan grants you the access and the permission to tell his story, you'd be a fool not to take it. And I'm proud to say, and Michael should be proud to say, that there was never one frame of this documentary that he exercised any censorship over. So Ken is in his business. He does a great job at it. He's a legend. He's in any kind of filmmaking Hall of Fame that you could think of. And I'm trying to do my job as well.
We have 10 episodes. Can you see maybe an 11th episode there, Jason? Like leftovers.
There's a lot of leftovers. There were 500 hours of footage that season, and we stopped telling our story in 1998.
What if ESPN said, give us an 11th, just leftovers, outtakes?
I would have to take a nap and decide after I got a good sleep.
Are you done with 9 and 10? Are they?
We're not.
They're not.
We're not.
Are you done with 7 and 8?
Yes, 7 and 8
Okay,
are done.
good.
Nine is done. 7, 8, and 9 are done. 10, I'm waiting. I'm pacing outside the delivery room right now. They're supposed to give episode 10 the final audio mix and the final color correction any day now. I watch that. I give my notes. They incorporate my notes. I watch it a final time, and then that's that. So I think if we talk again, I think that when we talk again, it'll be done. I'll a plume of white smoke will come out of a high rise in Tribeca. You'll see.
We'll have our next pope. I think there's going to be. It feels like there's going to be an 11th episode. Am I crazy in saying that? Has that been discussed?
It has not been discussed.
Okay. I just came up with it. We discussed it. So you can say it's in discussion. You've had discussions. We had a discussion here, Jason.
It's been discussed that there will be an 11th episode, but
and
not with any of the partners who would greenlight it.
And I love seeing Kobe. You know, you don't realize how impactful those words are until obviously with what happened. But I thought it was just such a mature way to approach this Jordan legacy of, I'm not there with him. He's the reason why I am where I am. It hit hard.
For me, it hit hard. I haven't seen these episodes in a long time because we signed off on these pre-COVID, and it's been such a race to the finish line. After he passed away, it was always striking in the edit room to see him come up. I will never wrap my head around it. I don't think any of us will. It doesn't make sense that someone who seemed that vibrant and vital and immortal, frankly, could be gone. So it's not the most articulate way to say it, man, but it is so sad to watch that last night. It was so sad and so poignant because of Michael's speech too at the memorial. You know that from both sides, that's confirmed. This is not just athlete BS and he's my big brother. He really felt that way about him. And Michael really felt that way about Kobe. It was such a special relationship. There's such kindred spirits. And to say it hit home is an understatement.
Go take a nap, Jason.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, well done so far, and we'll look forward to that 11th episode. You heard it here first on the Dan Patrick Show.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Jace.
All right, man.
That's Jason Hehir. He's the director of ESPN's The Last Dance.